Hello everybody, DJ Willie here. And right next to me, I have, for the first time, Hector LaFosse. And he's got a beautiful surprise for everyone. He's got a new book, and it's called No Regrets. And he's right here with us. Hector, I'd like to ask you a few questions on this book. What inspired you to write this?
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. You know, I'm living dreams. God has taken me to different places. And, you know, this is just the beginning. But this is a story about a little kid that was abused and abandoned. And through the tragedies and the trials and tribulations, he took the teenager hostage. The teenager became adult. And so we lived a life of a little boy dictating our lives because he was still in pain from what he couldn't believe he experienced. And so despite all adversities, it's a story of success because he struggled to survive and overcame despite all the odds. And so here we are telling the story, a story of hope and a story of inspiration.
You know something, there might be some of you who can relate to this story and a part of your life, or maybe someone in your family, friends that have gone through some of the same things that he has gone through. We're not going to speak too much about the sad part. I know that you're very excited over this book, and it has a lot of secrets, a lot of things that Hector's going to talk about in this book. And recently, he just had a red carpet event. And tell us about that red carpet event.
Gladly. Wow, we had a successful red carpet event. It was the book's debut. We did a huge book signing, and I was so ever pleased. The people that put it on was amazing. My wife did a great job. You know, we had a lot of people, a lot of attendees. And, you know, in this book, there's a lot of characters. And, you know, two of the characters that were in this book, I tried to bring as many of the people that are still alive so that they could be a testament of the facts of this book. And the one person that was there was my sister. And of course, there's a couple of chapters behind the experience that my sister put me through. And one was the disappearance, which is chapter 10. And chapter 11 was, you know, finding her through the Colombians and, you know, the wars, and because there was an incident and, you know, I had to find my sister in a disappearance. But there were also two characters that weren't there. One that was supposed to come, but he had a death in the family and he had to find his way to Caracas, and that was my friend Mike, Mike 171. We call him White Mike. He's the only like white boy I knew back in the neighborhood where we grew up at, and he became a part of us. But and then it was also one of the main characters in the book is one of my best friends that I grew up with. His name is Henry. And they did the Wall Riders, a movie, and I met some people in the screening, which actually led to the thought of this becoming a screenplay at that time. But yeah, I always want to give shout out to my friends and recognize them and everybody that's been involved with this. But to go back a little bit, this story first originated when I was a teenager, and I found myself in a very dark place in my life, in a lot of pain, separated from my 1-year-old boy. I was in love with my child, and the separation just tore my heart apart. And I found myself in some dark alleys. But I didn't know how to read because I was a dropout. You see, that little boy that was hurt took these, you know, the teenager and the adult through a big maze in life. And, you know, we had to learn how to survive. And so in that process, I didn't do much schooling. So I find myself in that predicament, and I didn't know how to read, and I wonder, how would I survive this? If I can't read, what am I going to do? Be a part of what's going on around me? And I picked up this one book. You might even know this guy. His name is P.D. Thomas. He wrote the story Down These Mean Streets. And that story is used as lectures to our colleges now because he's an amazing writer. And so at that very moment, I thought, wow, I read his book and I understood it. So it was really a mental blockage that I had because I didn't want to read. I didn't know how to read. It was nonsense. And so I read the book and I understood the book, but something more profound happened to me. At that very moment that I finished reading that book, I knew that I was one day going to tell my story. See, what I didn't know was that 45 years later, that seed would take root and give birth to this book. But I first had to go through a whirl of stuff to remember that feeling I had when I was just that little kid. And I got that feeling in a prayer meditation session as an adult some 3 years ago, somewhere about there. And that's the inception of this book. So it's an awesome book, man.
Well, as you can see, it's pretty interesting. And I want to go back a little bit. Just want you to let everybody know where were you born? Where did you grow up? Let us, let everyone know.
Yeah, sure. I come from the ghetto. No, just kidding. There was a lot of ghetto in my life. I was born in Brooklyn. Yeah, and that's where my pain started as a child. And then the abandonment issues took me into Washington Heights, Manhattan. And that's where I found myself alone in the back of a basement because my uncle was a super. I was being passed around as a little kid. I was pretty much uncontrollable, and I lived in the streets. My uncle didn't know what I was doing in the back of the basement. Had no clue, and I was back there afraid of the mice and, everything else that looked like a shadow on the wall. I thought there was ghosts in there. So what I did was I wandered the streets. I wandered the streets as a young little kid to find food and atmosphere. And that took me into a whirl of pain. Made some bad decisions along the way. And so that's where pretty much part of the journey. And then thereafter, we moved to the South Bronx. I was told I was going into the jungle. And so
I was born and raised in the South Bronx, and I grew up in the era of the gang days, abandoned buildings. Actually, we played in those abandoned buildings. We used to go in there and just play around, throw rocks, throw bricks.
That's right.
And we did crazy things, and it was okay. I mean, we weren't afraid. So we come from growing up in an area that almost looked like a nuclear bomb site.
Yeah.
That's how New York was. And we came out of that, and this here is something that this is where we come from, and it's important. I mean, if you're really interested in this, and you guys kind of can relate to the story that Hector just mentioned, you should read this and get a copy of it and find it. It's very interesting and it's very nice to read. Another thing that's going to happen is that Hector's going to be on our salsa cruise this year, Salsa Cruise 2018, and we're going to be heading to Cuba. He's going to be on board, and he's going to have his books with him. And if I were you, I'd just stop by, get a copy, get it signed, and read this on your spare time. I mean, I know we're going to be dancing a lot. It's going to be a lot going on, but if you're going to sit back in your room when you go back and start reading this, and he's going to be around. He's going to welcome you, and he's going to be happy to see you and come up and say hello. Friendly guy. He's not going to bite.
Right.
And he'll tell you a little about himself and this book. So take advantage of it. I mean, it's going to be on the ship, and I really congratulate you for this. I mean, I really, it's something that you just spoke about some things growing up in the city in those days when there was a lot going on, and we walked those streets, and we didn't know what was going on. We were young. And just take advantage of this. You got to read this. If not on the cruise, if you're not on the cruise, he's available to you. He's going to give you some information as to how to get in touch with him so you can get a copy of this book.
That's right. And so the ghetto was hard growing up in, and I've experienced pretty much all the ghettos of the 3 boroughs that I lived in. This is a story of survival against all odds. I'm not supposed to be here. I've been checked out. I've been on the count out. And I survived to come back and tell my story. It's truly, truly a remarkable story, not just because it's mine, but other people feel and believe that.
We all share the same experiences growing up in a city like that. I know you grew up in maybe other parts of this country or around the world where poverty was around and that kind of life. To survive that and come out of there and be able to be where you are now. Back to school, he reads, he writes,
That's right. Self-educated early on, and then I ended up going to school. I entered college, and I did very good. I've actually had good education. Had various businesses, so I became pretty successful. But this is where it's at. It's all in this book here. It's the journey. It's the journey. It's no regrets. The journey. If you read this book, it's a page turner. It's difficult to put down. I'm going to be on the cruise. If you can purchase the book prior to the cruise, you can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, and 35,000 other bookstores. It may not be at the store itself at that moment, but you could order it, bring it to the cruise, and I can sign it there for you. If not, you can pick it up on the cruise, and I'd be happy to meet you, answer any of your questions. And you know what? Let's have fun. Let's enjoy this journey, because that's really what we're on. We're on a journey. So we got to do the best we can and put God in the equation. So you know what? Enjoy your life. Peace out, and God bless you. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you.
I just want to let you know that the name of the book, again, is No Regrets, The Journey. And you can, just to remind you also that it's for sale in different places. He just mentioned Amazon and several other places. But Hector LaFosse is going to be on the Salsa Cruise this year. And he's going to be available. He's going to be walking around, having a good time with everyone. And just feel free to approach and ask about the book. And he'll be glad. He'll be happy to tell you everything about the book. And if you want to ask him any questions about anything he's gone through that may relate to you, feel free to ask. And I hope that you guys take advantage of the book. Get it whichever way you can. And the website, Hector, mention the website so that they can.
Yeah, you can also get it through my website, and I can mail it to you directly, autographed already. And that would be www.noregrets, just like the book, noregretsthejourney.com. So, we could do the PayPal, however you want to pay it off, and pretty cheap. The paperback is $14.95, I believe, and the hardcover is $24.95. So whichever one you feel you want, I'd be happy to serve you.
I want to thank everybody for watching, and once again, Hector LaFosse, No Regrets, The Journey. Pick it up.
See you.